Hello everyone. I just wanted to answer a question I get asked very, very often in this session, and that is that if I cut out dairy, will I get enough calcium in my diet? That is one of the most common questions I have had in consultations over the last many years, nearly 20 years that I've been consulting. And it's really important here to go back to what our ancestors, our hunter-gatherer ancestors, would have actually eaten. And if you're not a farmer, so before that age, in the Stone Age, you wouldn't have actually been milking any animals. No animal was going to stay still long enough for you to milk it if it's not domesticated. So we really wouldn't have been having any milk beyond when we were babies, let alone eating the milk of another species. Now, that is not necessary to say that all dairy products are bad. That's a whole other conversation, but they can certainly be avoided, whether you want to do it for ethical reasons or you do that because tend to have mucosal, get a lot of phlegm or mucus or inflammation or nasal or ear or throat issues or digestive issues, or that you can really feel that you're intolerant to dairy, or that you can just tolerate a little now and then, for instance. So there's a lot of calcium within dairy, within milk produce, and that's because when a baby comes out of the womb of any mammalian mammal species, they've got to grow a whole skeleton, and that's one of the reasons we need a kind of big calcium input at that time. But it's not the only source of calcium in our diet, and the thing about dairy is that it's very high in calcium but pretty low in the mineral magnesium. And calcium and magnesium work together, particularly within the nervous system. They are electrolyte minerals, so they are part of our nervous system communication, the electrical communication throughout the body, and they work in tandem. We very much need a balance of calcium and magnesium in our diet. So actually what happens if we have a lot of dairy and very few magnesium foods, which would be in things like nuts, seeds, green leafy vegetables, then we tend to get quite high levels of calcium and quite low levels of magnesium. And the water that we drink tends to be in that kind of ratio anyway. If you look at the label of a bottle of mineral water, most of them have much more calcium than they do magnesium. Some have higher than others, but you can kind of check that, but mostly they will still have more calcium because they'll come through kind of chalky cliffs or chalky parts of the water table. And particularly like me, I live in an area of the UK called Sussex. It's on very chalky cliffs here. You can see that the cliffs are white. And we have very, very high calcium in our water system here. So it's very common for people to be getting a lot more calcium than magnesium just through the water anyway. And it's much better to get calcium in forms of foods that have magnesium present as well. So those magnesium sources that I mentioned, particularly green leafy veg, we need so much green leafy veg, and nuts and seeds, but also fish, they have very good ratios of calcium to magnesium within them. And the thing about our hunter-gatherer ancestors as well is that they actually ate a lot less calcium than we did. And the reason is, and they had, very good bone density, barely any incidence of any kind of bone loss or osteopenia or osteoporosis. And this is because they were doing an enormous amount of weight-bearing exercise all the time. So our sedentary lives don't tend to mean that we have that kind of challenge, a continual challenge and movement on bone, which actually then signals generating that bone density, that bone regrowth, that osteoblastic activity, regeneration of bone. So actually, it's a combination of weight-bearing exercise and foods that have balanced calcium, magnesium in them that actually give your bones the best chance of mineralization. And what happens if you don't have enough magnesium, but you have an awful lot of calcium, is that you can't utilize calcium properly. So you end up getting kind of free-form calcium around the bloodstream that can't be remineralized anyway. And we need many more components than just calcium to mineralize that into bone. So we need things like vitamin D, vitamin K, vitamin A, minerals, boron, vanadium, and magnesium itself. So when we lower in those levels, actually, our ability to mineralize that calcium into bone becomes less anyway. And the thing about having high dairy in our diet is that dairy is very acidic. It's acidifying. So it means that once that's metabolized, it leaves an acidic ash, a residue, if you like. And our body needs to work at a slightly alkaline level of 7.4 pH, which is slightly alkaline. And that's all kind of parts of the body, pH of the blood, everything except the stomach, which needs an acidic environment. So when we have anything that's outside that's slightly alkalizing, we have buffer systems in the body. We have buffer systems through the kidneys, but we also have a calcium buffer system. The calcium is a very alkalizing mineral. And when we have like high acidity, so a diet, for instance, that doesn't have enough fruit, vegetables as really alkalizing components, or we have high levels of stress, which is also acidifying through oxygen carbon dioxide exchange changing. So when we have either stress or a diet that's not very alkalizing, our buffer systems need to come into play to keep us in that alkalized state that we can function optimally. So one of the ways that we'll do that is calcium will be liberated from bone as a buffer system to go around the bloodstream. And once that calcium is kind of in that free form, it doesn't easily remineralize back again. And you can end up with calcium running around the bloodstream, which actually then contribute to things like plaques in the arteries, to joint issues, kind of calcification or around the joints. So it's really most important to get our calcium in those forms that have magnesium as well. And then actually, you're getting a diet which is all over alkalizing. You're getting those green leafy vegetables as much as possible, which have the minerals we need for energy production, green there and chlorophyll for how we get energy from the sun. And overall, it allows us to function optimally as we were designed to, as we our hunter-gatherer ancestors would have done. So I hope that answers the question. The upshot of that is, eat your greens and get plenty of nuts and seeds in your diet, and plenty of weight-bearing exercise, getting out as much as you can and doing stuff that really kind of puts a healthy challenge onto your structure. So I hope that's helped. Do send me any questions that you'd like answered through about that subject or any other subject you'd like me to cover. And you can ask within the Charlotte Watts Calm Facebook group, or get in touch via my website, charlottewattshealth.com. Thank you. Bye.